So, as a value conscious person, you do not want to give bribe. Now look at the previous questions that UPSC has framed. This is also a thing which was framed by UPSC, which means the framers of this question paper, they want you to be like this. Otherwise, why they would give this statement in one of the previous year papers, right? Irrespective of the circumstance, you have to stand by this sixth principle, right? The others that they have given above, right? Ethics of conduct, they are pulling your legs, like you have to follow pragmatic approach and it is okay if you take minimum bribes, right? Because see this how beautifully they have framed in order to divert your mind. What is this? See this third question. It is understandable that we should not get involved in grossly unethical practices, but giving and accepting small gratifications and doing small favors increases everybody's motivation. It also makes the system more efficient. Now if you stand by this word and say that yes, this is correct, then you are going to be in the trap. Like it is going to be a dichotomy in the ethics paper between your answer and the ethics paper itself, right? Don't stand, at least in the ethics paper, at least write them that you are going to be ethical in any circumstance. Let the sky fall, but I am not going to be deviated from my principles. That should be the stand. By the end of the day, you have to write that and you have to come. Whatever the practical advantages that is going to come from giving small bribes, you follow in your practical life, not on the paper. So you have to write this statement. As a value conscious person, you do not want to give bribe or go against the moral principles, right? This is called standing by your principles at always, at any instance is called moral courage. Again, which is one of the foundational values of a citizen, not only civil servant. An ethical person, you should have moral courage. That is standing by the value that you have. Now, let us look at case studies with examples. We are witnessing increasing instances of sexual violence against women in the country, despite legal provisions against it. The number of such incidents is on the rise. Again, the same thing, right? We discussed just now. It is not the laws which is important, but it is the ethical conduct in the individuals that is more important, right? So for that, you can give this example. Now, ethical. See this one, 10th one, sharing. Today's we find in spite of various measures. See, this is the thing. More or less, the same thing is spoken here. In spite of many values or in spite of many laws, still you find sexual violence against the woman, right? You can use this as the best example how law is not effectively organized in the country because of the society itself. So here there are three things again. One is the Tirukul one, this one, and this one, right? The 10th one and the 12th one. Both are you can use to substantiate Tirukul statement or to substantiate the 10th subheading in this question in this paper, or for these two things you can use this example, right? And this is one social problem which you can use while you are writing for substantiating the answers. Migrants. Migrants workers have always remained at the socio-economic margins of the society. This is another problem in society. One is women's problem, the other problem is migrants, right? Whenever you think about vulnerable sections, think about these people, right? And you can give best examples from this. This is again case studies for just examples and substantiations of your answers that I said. For everything you have to substantiate, the substantiations are going to come again from here. We have seen substantiations from quotations, right? We are seeing this substantiations from case studies. Migrants, along with migrants, who are the vulnerable sections which you can think of? You can think of women, you can think of children, you can think of disabled, you can think of elderly, you can think of LGBTs, you can think of migrants, right? Then senior citizens, elderly, right? You can think of SCs, you can think of STs, right? Not only migrants, you can think about all these things and you can give some examples. Your examples will be coming from here. Socioeconomic margins of our society. Again, this you can use in your society paper, internal society paper and paper 3, inclusive growth, right? An announcement of a countrywide lockdown, a very large number of migrant workers decided to move back to their places of employment to their native villages. The non-availability of transport created its own problems. Added to this was the fear of starvation and inconvenience to the families. This caused the migrant workers to demand wages and transport facilities for returning to their villages. The mental agony was accentuated by multiple factors such as sudden rabi crop due to not being able to reach home. Sudden loss of livelihood, possibility of lack of food and inability to assist in harvesting their rabi crop due to not being able to reach home in time. Reports of inadequate response of some districts in providing the essential borderings. Now you can write about this is the problem, that is what we said. The civil servants have huge responsibilities. One is they has huge amounts that has to be disposable, and the decisions that they are going to make, they are going to have wide range implications. This is the best example. You can concise it, or you can think about this. You can use this example in various means, right? The corona migrants crisis, you can use the failure of decision making, or you can write about how the private players has given a hand to the migrants during crisis. Where is corporate ethics now, right? Because their native places, not country where a large number of decided to move back to their places of employment, to their native villages. Why? All of a sudden, the people were fired out from their companies. So this is what private ethics is. This is what the public administration is, right? The same thing you can also link with, this is one example. You can also think about demonetization, the decisions which are going to be taken by the people who are sitting at the helm of affairs is going to impact the whole society. The 3 Farm Acts, again the same impact, right? More or less you can use these things. The mental agony was accentuated by multiple factors. Look at the term that they have used. What a strength that word has, right? Fear of starvation and inconvenience to their families. You have to use these type of words. Then it reflects that you are an intellectual person. You are someone who is good in reading, who is interested in reading, who is interested in writing, right? You have learned many lessons from the situations when you are tasked to oversee the functions of a district disaster response force in your district. In your opinion, what ethical issues arose from the current migrant crisis? What do you understand by ethical care giving state? Look at the term. Think about answer later, but the term ethical care giving state. Any state can be called as a good state, or your governance as a good governance if your state is giving ethical care. So use the term. What assistance can the civil servant render? Assistant render to, right? Mitigate the. So as a civil servant, you have to give assistance to mitigate the sufferings of vulnerable sections of the community, whether it is migrants or any other vulnerable, right? So just remember this. Whenever you are writing answer, there is vulnerable sections, and then you can use this thing, right? The second vulnerability is women, right? In our country, the migration of rural people to towns and cities is increasing drastically. Societal problem of unemployment, problem of inclusive growth. Migration not only socio-economic but also the emotional and attitudinal factors. Look at this. Migration not only socio-economic, never, no one will think that migration has something to do with your emotions and attitudinal factors, right? Look at this. The role of attitude in migration, or how attitudes are creating migration also. Now, in your economy paper, you'll have these things, right? Issues of migration, issues of inclusive growth. Whenever you are writing migration, think on 4 dimensions. It has social factors, political factors, economic factors, along with these emotional and attitudinal factors. But whenever you are thinking about emotions and attitudes, you can use this example, right? Attitudes are also leading to migration. And you know what are the ill effects of migration, right? Dilemmas. Suppose you are an officer in charge of implementing a social service scheme to provide support to old and destitute women. An old and illiterate woman comes to you to avail the benefits of the scheme. However, she has no document to show that she fulfills the eligibility criteria. But after meeting her and listening to her, you feel that she certainly needs your support. Your inquiries also show that she is really destitute and living in a pitiable condition. You are in a dilemma as to what to do. Putting her under the scheme without necessary documents would clearly be a violation of rules, but denying her the support would be a cruel and inhuman. Now, your law versus ethics. You can use, no need to give this big example. Concise it, or precisely write it in one sentence or two sentences. This is the ethical dilemma that civil servants face. You can give this as an example by concising whenever you are writing about the dilemmas in ethical governance or dilemmas in governance or the problems in governance, right? Now it requires your emotional intelligence to solve. You can also say that in the emotional intelligence, you can use this as example. Again, I am not asking you to remember this entire thing, but remember this case study. Okay, this is the case study. You can write it in your own words. Don't write this big para because it will be of 150 words and your answer will be done there itself with this example. Write in simple terms. Okay, one is migration, one is this woman. The same thing, it is the same problem which has caused in Jharkhand, right? The death of a young child, girl child, right? Because of this problem. Hence, they have given this question. Politicization of bureaucracy, a very good term again. Politicization of bureaucracy. This is another problem in political, governance, right? What are the problems and what is the present status? Politicization of bureaucracy is one of the biggest problems. In modern day democratic polity, there is a concept of political executive and permanent executive, right? Political executive is your politicians or the members of legislative assembly or legislative members of parliament, and permanent executives, the bureaucrats. Terms are very good, right? You can interchange those words. You can use these type of words. And Rukmini did a good thing. She has underlined very important terms. Elected people's representatives form the political executive and bureaucracy forms the permanent executive. They are giving the meanings also, right? Ministers frame policy decisions and bureaucrats execute this. In the initial decades after independence, the relation between the permanent executive and the political executive was characterized by mutual understanding and respect and cooperation without encroaching upon each other's domains. Right? However, in the subsequent decades, the situation has changed. There are instances of the political executive insisting upon the permanent executive to follow its agenda. Respect for an appropriation of upright bureaucrats has declined. Respect for an appreciation of upright bureaucrats has declined. This is another ethical problem, or this is another problem that an ethical civil servant face. Because this is one problem, this is one problem. Continue with the problems that I said. What is the present problems? I discussed there I think 4 to 5. This will be the 6th and this will be the 7th. There is an increasing tendency among the political executive to get involved in the routine administrative matters such as transferring and posting. This is another problem that people are facing, ethical bureaucrats. Under this scenario, there is definitive trend towards politicization of bureaucracy. The rising materialism and acquisitiveness in social life has also adversely impacted upon. This we discussed. In the rising competition, people are tending to compromise upon the ethical values of both permanent and political executive. Now, this question contains all the problems that is the present status and problems that public servants face, or the public service face, right? Public service has. Now, you can use these problems there, and whenever you are writing there, you can use them as substantiations, right? This is the thing. This is the beauty of case study. And you can use the terminology also. Shivakasi in Tamil Nadu is known for manufacturing clusters of firecrackers and matches. The local economy of the area is largely dependent on firecracker industry. It has led to tangible economic development and improved standard of living in the area. Tangible economic benefit. Very good term, right? So far as child labor norms for hazardous industries like firecracker industry are concerned, International Labour Organization has set the minimum age as 18 in India. However, this age is 14. This is another ethical dilemma in your law. See how your law is, right? You can directly use this. The units in industries, the units in industrial clusters of firecrackers can be classified into registered and non-registered entities. One typical unit in house is household based work. Though the law is clear on the use of child labor employment norms in registered and non-registered units, it does not include household works. Law is silent on the household works. Now, this is one drawback of your law. Household based work means children working under the supervision of their parents and relatives. To evade child labor norms, look at the term. To evade the child labor norms, several units project themselves as household based works and employ children from outside. Needless to say, that employing children saves costs for these units, leading to higher profits to their owners. Because of your loopholes in the law, these are being used. Just like your RTA, which has some loopholes, this is also one loophole in your law, in your law, right? Prevention of Child Labor Act. On your visit to one of the units at Shivakasi, the owner takes you around the unit, which has about 10 to 15 children below 14 years of age. The owner tells you that in his household based unit, the children are all his relatives. You notice that several children smoke, right? When the owners tell you this, they laugh or they will smoke. On deeper inquiry, you figure out that neither the owner nor the children are able to satisfactorily establish their relationship with each other. Now the thing is why this case study we have given here is, anyways in answer sheet you have to answer, but what are the things that you can take for your theory from here is, the loopholes in the law are, whenever law is silent, you have to use your ethical dimension. This is the thing, right? We discussed this. Law cannot be regulated or framed on each and everything. At times, law is not permitted, or whenever there is law silent, you have to use your own decisions. That is why this question was framed, and you can beautifully use this again. Just like your RTA, you can use this, right? This is again one issue with the problems, because in the syllabus they have clearly given this, that is called sources of ethics is laws, rules and regulations and conscience. Laws, rules and regulations. Laws cannot be exhaustive, rules cannot be exhaustive, regulations cannot be exhaustive. So people are using them as people are finding the loopholes in it and are exploiting them. Now, here comes the virtue ethics, that is called conscience. Hence, conscience is very important to be followed, right? You can give the examples of RTA, you can give the examples of Shivakasi also, firecrackers. Next thing is key terms and prephrases. See how many words are there. Connector words, again for writing. This is for connector words, this is for essay writing. Between the paragraphs, you will be using these connectors, right? But look at this, no need to study anything for the words. If you are able to memorize all these words, your answer will be full with the ethical terminology, right? I said answer writing is introduction, body, conclusion, substantiation. Substantiations comes from your quotation, substantiations come from your case studies, substantiations comes from your reformers of world history, Indian history, substantiations comes from the so-called current affairs, substantiations come from the Supreme Court judgments, constitution, right? And then it is all about writing the key terms in your answers. So key terms, here there are more than 100 key terms. If you are able to remember them and if you are able to memorize them over a period of time, you are going to effectively use this, right? Summarily dismissed. Look at the phrase, how beautiful it is. Conscience pricks. At heart she feels, at heart we feel. Payment is often tardy. Now how to build vocabulary? How to build vocabulary? You know, when we were in our school days, our school teacher used to give us this exercise, right? You know, she used to give us some 5 words or 10 words, and she used to ask us to frame our own paragraph on that, right? we continued this even in our templates too, even in our graduation also. So the best way to learn anything or the best way to memorize any keyword is take 3 keywords or 5 keywords, write your own paragraph on it, whatever the paragraph you are interested in it, write, and then you will memorize the things. So this is how you build up your vocabulary over a period of time. So we are done with the previous year questions. Now the point here is, let me tell you, now the point here is, many people are telling, sir, we are unable to write the answers, right? Uh, Many people, I am getting many calls saying that, sir, I do have this feeling of fear, or I am not knowing how to write the things. Now, not only you, everyone who have not written so far will have the same emotion, that is called fear or something afraid to write. But in order to overcome this law of inertia, right? What Newton's first law, Newton always said that a body which is at rest continues to be at rest until some external force is given, or a body which is in motion continues to be motion until an external agency is applied. So in order to overcome law of inertia, it takes time. You have to start at somewhere. Let us accept that practicality or reality. Though reality is to be quite dangerous, let us accept this reality. If you are passing your prelims, what will you do if you don't write mains? Right? By the end of the day, if you want to clear this exam, at one point you have to start the answer writing, and this is the best time to write. Whatever you know, write something. Over a period of time, you'll improve. Never try to become perfect in the first writing itself. It is not going to be a possible thing. Over a period of time, you'll learn how to be perfect in writing. But start writing. At least you look at these papers, take a printout of these papers. No need to read any books. I am saying you no need to read any books. Think about the questions, analyze the questions, understand the question properly, use some examples from your daily life or from the knowledge that you have. Over a period of time, you'll improve. So again, I say ethics is not reading many books. It is about thinking, and writing. If you write 50 answers, it is going to be more than efficient. So on Monday, I am going to start with the so-called, I'll just go through each and every topic in the syllabus, and I'll tell you what are the dimensions that we can cover in each and every syllabus. So that is the thing. But your basic source for ethics is, as I always believe, your basic source will be your brain. In that brain, you should have organized your syllabus. That is the first thing. And the second thing is, this basic book material which was prepared by Rukmini, right? The third thing is just a basic outline. What is integrity? What is impartiality? What are the elements of attitude? What is the elements of emotional intelligence? That is the only thing. The rest of the things, it all depends upon your writing. So from Monday, I'll do one thing, right? There should be some external force to overcome that law of inertia, right? I'll be the external force. I'll give you one question. If you are willing, you can write from Monday onwards. So this is